Breast cancer, according to the World Health Organization, is the leading cause of deaths in cancer cases among women. 2.1 million women are diagnosed of breast cancer annually, with about 627,000 being recorded to have died in 2018 alone. In Ghana, 4,645 breast cancer cases were recorded in 2018, with about 1,871 deaths. According to doctors, there is 90% survival rate for people who are diagnosed of the disease in the early stages. Our guests for this edition of Untold have battled and survived breast cancer, and today they take us on a trip down memory lane in their breast cancer journey.
My name is Juliet Mills Lutrat.
My name is Priscilla Yako Eninfo. 1983 was the first time that I felt a lump in my right breast. I thought it was just in my right breast. And you won't believe this. I had a cousin who is a gynecologist right in my building. He's on the 8th floor, I'm in the 19th floor. I called him 12:30 midnight when I felt this, and I said, "You have to see this." And he said, "Don't come, I can't do anything." But I still didn't listen to him, and I went down. He examined not the right breast, but he examined both breasts. And then he gave me a note to go to one of the clinics to be examined. When I went, I was given physical examination and also mammography. Okay. And then they told me that so far everything is okay. So a year later, I went. They examined me again. And they said I should go for another biopsy. I did go, and I took the result to them. And this time, they told me that they have found something.
2008, February 14th was when I got my devastating news. Little did I know that in hindsight, it will actually be the best news I've ever gotten in my life. That day, I don't remember how I drove home from the doctor's office after receiving the news. But I remember going home, crawling up in my bed, and going to sleep. For the next 24 hours, I barely came out of my bed. And when I finally gathered myself to come out of my bed, it was time to break the news to my family, to my children. They took it well. I was actually quite surprised. What made my diagnosis dangerous was that the type of cancer I had, the nature of it was that it would grow, the possibility of it growing rapidly was higher. And where it was placed, if I did a lumpectomy, which was removing the lump, it would deform my breast. The nature of it was that it always came back, and sometimes more aggressive than it did before. So when I sat with my breast surgeon to make the decision to remove the breast, for me it was easy. Whatever I needed to do to be healthy and to be alive was what it took. It didn't matter to me. But I wanted to be sure that I was making the right choice.
They advised me to see an oncologist who will sit down with me and explain whatever they find and all that. Okay. He examined me. He told me that I will have to have surgery. Because of the time he took to explain everything to me, I asked him all the questions and everything. I was not scared one bit when finally the surgery had to be done. While they were doing the surgery, they discovered that I had cancer cells in the left one also. But he said different kind of cancer cells, not the same type as what is in here. So I will need another surgery. Now that scared me to death, because that one I wasn't prepared for it. But since he explained it to me that is it, I reasoned it this way. I have foreign things that are in my system, and they have no business being there. So if the doctors have discovered it, and I am not a doctor, whatever they say, I will go along with it.
See, the day of my surgery to remove my tumor was on my birthday. And people often ask, why did you choose your birthday? Because I knew it was a reborn for me. And I knew I wasn't going anywhere. Because I know that I know that I know that I know that when God has got you, He's got you. And on that faith I stood. And it will not be shaken for me. And so my doctor sang happy birthday. And they put me under. And they did the operation. And I came out with flying colors. Look at me. Do I look any different? I think I look better than I even looked before.
Prosthetics or reconstruction. Women are given the power to make a choice after going through surgery.
The hospital had people who have experienced this kind of surgery. About 4 of them came to me at different times and explained what will happen to me when I go home, and also to consider whether I would like to have the artificial breast or something, because they have actually cut both of them off. So I had a choice whether I get the permanent one or I get the prosthesis. What I decided to do was just to use the regular prosthesis.
When the breast was removed, that same day of surgery, they begin the reconstructive process. So once they remove the breast tissue, everything is gone. Your nipple, your entire breast tissue, everything is gone. So they have to now stretch your skin. So think of removing the breast and now pulling the skin and putting in a stretcher. So the stretcher goes underneath your skin to stretch it. You would then make trips to the hospital to inject the breast weekly to slowly enlarge it to the size you want. Then you would go back, have the stretcher removed, and the implants put in. Once the implants have been put in, you would heal from that. You'd go back to the hospital and they will create your nipple. So your nipple was a pinch, they would stitch it, a pinch, they would stitch it, raising the skin, and they will create the nipple. Once the nipple is created, that would heal, and then they will tattoo the darker part on it, giving you the visual of as normal as they can get you to a breast.
Battling breast cancer is not only physically draining, but emotional as well, and patients need all the support they can get.
My husband was with me in the United States, but he was also such a busy person because he was a journalist. Not that he didn't come to see me, he came to see me all the time. He was working at the United Nations at that time, but he was a Ghana news agency correspondent. So he did the best he could in terms of support and all that. I had my daughter, the one that said she was my only daughter. And fortunately for her, she was a nurse. So at least she had an idea of what I was going through. She lived in New Jersey and I lived in New York. Apart from visiting me on a daily basis while I was going through the surgery, when she was off duty, she had the time. She came to see me.
From being diagnosed to moving on to going through my treatments, my boys would sit around me almost every night after chemo. They would keep me company. As my hair began to fall out, I allowed them to shave my hair off, giving me the power of taking my hair out, where chemo didn't have a hold on that breakdown. My husband, on the other hand, took it very well in the beginning, but years down the line, he must have thought I was still sick because the medications I would take years after the chemo would react with my body, and I would go through so many body changes, from sweats at night, where I'll have to wake up in the middle of the night and change all the bed sheets, where I would disturb his sleep because I needed to come out of the wet clothes, to just hormonal changes in my body. I gained a lot of weight. Every hair on my body was gone. I looked not so pretty. He's seen me go through it all. And sometimes when he looks at me today, I am so touched and so moved that he still sees a sexy, beautiful woman.
There is no single known cause for breast cancer, and though some women are more likely than others to develop it, all women are at risk. Some breast cancer cases are attributed to genetics, others to diet, and yet for others, environment.
My paternal aunt, that is the one after my father, she died of breast cancer. Okay, and she died here in Ghana. And it was what she went through. Probably that also helped me, you see, to make my mind fast and had this thing out of it. Because my aunt, he discovered the thing all right. Went to Kolebu, they told her what they were going to do. Do you think she will go back? Never. She didn't go back. And her husband was a native medicine doctor, you see, who I'm sure didn't know a damn thing about, the lumps and the things here. But when she got scared about going for surgery, she went to her husband, who was also a medicine man, and he started treating her in his own way. And breast cancer doesn't hurt at the early stages. Because if you ask me, what kind of pain did I feel when this thing started, I will tell you 0. Because you don't feel any pain. At least I didn't feel any pain when this thing started. If I had waited to probably stage 4, okay, then maybe I'll start feeling pain. But when I went to see the doctor, they told me I am still at stage 1, going to stage 2. So what I remember telling the doctor is, cut them off. And then it is interesting. My daughter is dead. She died 2015, you see. And she also had breast cancer, And she died after 5 years, going on 6. Going on 6 years, the 6th year, that's when she died. So I don't know what to say.
My cancer was not through genetics because there was nobody in my family who got breast cancer. My cancer was purely environmental when I was tested. And even the environmental, I asked myself, what is environmental? The air I breathe, the food I eat? And I realized environmental means all of it. You see, when God gave us the world, it was clean. The rivers were clean, the ocean was clean, the earth was clean, the air was clean. We human beings pollute everything. And when we pollute it, what do? We get sick and we go and blame the devil. Look in the mirror, my dear. We are all a contributing factor to this cancer disease, to all of the diseases around. When you drink your sachet water, what do? You throw it on the floor. And what happens? It collects and it creates bacteria and it chokes our gutters and it promotes all kinds of horrible things. We are all responsible for cancer. We need to look in the mirror and make better choices with our own environment so we can live a better, clean life.
Many women are brainwashed into believing that surgery will kill them and therefore run to herbalists and prayer centers for miracles when they are diagnosed. But our guests have this advice for them.
There is life after breast surgery. And I am a typical example. But you have to have the courage to make a big decision like this, you see, to go into it and have the surgery. because not everybody has the courage. Some people, they want to do it, but they are scared to death. And they imagine all kinds of things. You see, will the surgery be successful? They have all these things in their mind. So you have to think about what you want out of life. Do you want life itself? You see, because if you want life itself, then you make that decision, and then the other things that follow will come.
The mistake we do is that we should believe God would heal us, but we should also believe that God's child is the doctor. God's child is the nurse. And God has used these people. God himself doesn't come from heaven to come and heal you, you know. I believe that we have pastors in our midst who are a bit radical. And I say radical in the most conservative way, because when given the opportunity to face some of those pastors, I don't think it'll be good for me. But it will be great to understand that when you are sick, along with your church praying for you, along with you getting on your knees to pray, that you do not think that you don't need the doctors. Please, my ladies, women are dying. Just last week, I was in the Volta region, and in Keta, I met a woman whose breast has opened into a flower because her pastor told her, "We're going to pray for you." That prayer is great. I need every woman who is told they're going to pray for you to ask yourself, if that pastor is sick, will he come to the congregation and ask you to only pray, or will he go to the doctor as well? Our herbalists are great. I'm not knocking them. They are good for your malarias and for your stomach aches and for your little sores. Cancer is not one of them. Please go to the doctor. There are organizations like mine who help pay for women and people who cannot afford breast cancer. We will subsidize it, we will donate, we will come and help. But please go to Kolebu or Konfanoche, go to the hospitals that have the cancer centers to be able to help you. This I cannot plead with you enough. I beg of you, in order for you to live a full life, to achieve all of the goals you've set for yourself, the number one priority is health. Emerson said it best: the first wealth is health.